have I stopped using generalizations, like Western parents this, Chinese parents this? Maybe it's because I'm a lawyer and we're used to defining our terms. I mean, on the, I think it's the first or second page of the book, I say that I'm using the term Chinese parents loosely. And I say that for example, I was talking to a guy from South Dakota, and after discussing it, he and I decided that his working class Irish immigrant father had been a Chinese mother. And I say, I also know lots of people from Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Jamaica, Haiti, Ireland, Poland, India, Pakistan, Korea, parents from those places that have very similar mindsets. I think it's more of an immigrant mentality. I also say very clearly that conversely, many people of Chinese ethnicity do not practice this kind of what I'm calling Chinese parenting, by choice or otherwise. So, I mean, I can be faulted, it's true, the way we do it, when I write an academic piece, I just find my terms at the beginning, but I understand that question. I mean, all through it, I'm talking about, and to be honest, you're right. I mean, a lot of what I'm talking about, I do think of as Chinese, but again, for me, it's not really, it's not a comparative parenting book. It's really about my family and my changes, and my family is Chinese, and I do know many other people of this particular demographic that have shared experiences. I know many, many Chinese people who are nothing like this. I think a lot of it is really the immigrant experience, but also a particular kind of immigrant. I actually also define this very carefully in the third chapter. I say I'm talking really about immigrants that come to this country as graduate students or as skilled workers. So they have a particular kind of mentality. They're often very poor, but they come with a very academic orientation, and they have similar kinds of expectations. So I think, I mean, I take the criticism. I think that there are some generalizations in there. I try my best to say at the beginning.
You have said you would make some minor tweaks. And what are they and why? And your children are only 15 and 18. You're not done yet.
I mean, I think, so did everybody hear that? Yeah, okay, yeah. The question was, I said that I would make some minor adjustments if I could do it all over again. What would those be? And also, what do I think about I'm not done yet. I don't know the results yet because my kids are only 15 and 18. And I actually think this is one of the reasons for this. I mean, I have been in, it's like been this completely surreal 10 days, again, because I think the excerpt did not convey that it was a memoir and that there's an arc to the book and a change. So, as to your question, I want to say that I really believe that there are many ways of being a good parent. And I say this as a professor, too. I mean, I have so many students, and they come from all different backgrounds. Some of them single parent, or some of them went to the Marines. I mean, people had all different tracks. Some had strict parents, some had not strict parents, and there are just many ways of producing a happy, successful, confident child, I think. Again, my own husband grew up in a very, very liberal household, where his mother just said, run out, and just do it, be free, pursue your passions. And he came out great. So I really think that there is not, and if there were one formula, I certainly don't know it. Because, I mean, the book is just full of in a way, it's my own search. So I want to answer your question by saying, when I say the tweaks, or adjustments, it's just for my family, what I would do. Because I have said that if I could do it all over again, I would do basically the same thing with some adjustments. Those adjustments would be paying more attention to the individual personalities of my kids, which I think is I guess it is hard to avoid generalizations. I do sometimes think that immigrants who first come over, like my own parents, who were very just tied up thinking about survival. I mean, they weren't thinking about their children's self-esteem and individuality. It was just survival. They were just working to try to make a better future for us. So, I guess I would stand by that.
I'm just curious as to where you have your children in school. When I think of New Haven, I don't think of it as a public school. So are they a private school or public school?
My daughters are in private school. I went to all public schools, but and that's another theme that, there are a lot of themes in the book that I had hoped would be more universal, because when I talked to my friends, but it's sort of gotten very, just very emotional. I have a chapter called On Generational Decline, and I was determined. I really did not want to raise an entitled, pampered, spoiled child, and it's something there's a saying in Chinese that something like prosperity cannot be kind of a pattern where the first immigrant, the immigrants that first come here, like my own parents, they come with very little. My parents arrived with so little money they couldn't afford heat their first 2 winters in Boston, and they wore blankets around to keep themselves warm, and they were graduate students. I remember my parents just spent nothing compared to what I spent. They're always dismayed because they're saving everything for their children's future. And I think something about that experience, because I saw my father wear the same pair of shoes for 8 years, and in some ways the book is about how I was not able to have the same kind of authenticity as my parents. So when I got an A- and it wasn't good enough, it just never occurred to him. It never occurred to me to ask why. I felt they earned the right to ask that of me. They had come all the way over to this land of opportunity, and I wasn't to waste that opportunity that we were given. But my kids, they grow up, they go to private schools, their friends, everyone has cars and iPods and iPhones and brand name clothes, and I feel that, like many of my friends, wherever background, that there's a little bit of a generational difference. They don't do as many chores, a little bit. And but somehow I could not have the same authenticity with my 2 kids. When I, said, A-, can we just, you get a 96? I didn't say it was a bad grade. That's a little bit for dramatic effect. I said, that's great, but can we just check out the missing 4 points? Just for improvement, we can see for the future. So we can learn for the future. It's the way that I was, but my daughter Lulu especially was, why? Why is the A- not a good grade? Why, why? And I don't. Good question, but yeah, I just found that I couldn't command the same, and so that's that theme going on here.
I find that the one-dimensional sense in which you have been somewhat represented is not so, and I'm curious, just as your mom had second thoughts apparently to you as you were raising your children, do you have a sense of the arc that your life may transcribe, so that when Sophie and Lulu are approximately your age, and you are your mom's age, and you are advising Lulu about your grandchild, where you will be then, do you think?
This is an interesting question, because there's a, I think, kind of funny line in my book. When I was going through this, my parents as grandparents are ridiculous. I mean, they just all they do is just bring ice cream and presents, and I feel like that, they're just letting me down. And they're always telling me to loosen up, and so it's a really good question. This is sort of an indirect way of answering your question, because in some ways writing this book was going back to the beginning to kind of piece things together for myself, and I thought about my own parents a little bit too, and this is a little bit related. When I was I'm sure you've heard. I mean, there's a famous story where when I won second place in a history contest in 8th grade. I brought my parents to the award ceremony, and somebody else had won prize for Kiwanis prize for best all-around student. I was in San Francisco, the Bay Area last night, and my old high school friends came, including the guy who had won the prize. Anyway, famously, after I won second place, after the award ceremony, my father said, "Never, ever disgrace me like that again." Very strict, very similar set of rules, very similar feelings about sleepovers. I mean, and some of you surely know this. The idea that it's, on the one view, it's sort of like no sleepovers, how cruel. The way it was from my father, I remember, they were immigrants, and my father would say, "We have a home and a bed for you here. Why do you need to go to someone else's house to sleep?" and so that was the mentality. It wasn't.